Hello, guys, and welcome to another new episode of Hollywood Gold. I'm your host, Daniela Taplin Lundberg, and I'm here with my right hand, Vanessa Mandel.
Hello. How's it going?
Oh, it's so good. It's spring in New York. I'm so pumped for the weather to get better. It's like a nice 63 here today. So thrilled. But Vanessa, I'm so excited. You know, we sort of kicked off a new sort of idea with our Glenn Basner episode a couple weeks ago. And so we started to try to recruit these like kind of impressive studio execs to take us behind the curtain. So today we're about to dive in with Christian Parkes, who's like the brilliant brains behind he's the head of marketing at Neon. And we're going to do a deep dive with him because he just did an extraordinary job on so many films this year, including Longlegs and Anora and so many others that we're going to dive into. So I can't wait to get going.
Let's do it.
Christian Parkes, I'm so excited to be talking to you because you really are the genius behind the marketing of Neon films.
Daniela, I don't know how to respond to that. I'm happy to be here, first and foremost.
Thank you for joining us.
And I'm incredibly fortunate and lucky to be part of an awesome team at Neon.
You know, I recently sort of became fascinated with you in particular as I saw the sort of really out of the box inventive marketing of Longlegs, but also sort of the simultaneous handling of movies like Anora and Parasite. And I would assume that you are largely responsible for two very different ways of getting audiences into theaters for, sort of different lanes, right? And so I kind of want to go back to the beginning of you and how you became this sort of marketing maven. And I see you blushing, but I think it's an area of the movie industry that is so critical, becoming more and more critical as we're trying to get people into the theaters. And so let's sort of start at the beginning, not like, hours long, but I just want to understand where you came from. I read that you sort of had a background in brands like Levi Strauss, and just sort of understand your background a little bit. And then we'll dive into your life at Neon.
Going all the way back, all the way back.
All the way.
I loved movies. From my first formative childhood memories, it was watching movies and then going to the theater, seeing movies. The second film that I saw in a movie theater was Christopher Reeve as Superman. And I didn't know who the guy in glasses was, but when that guy put that cape on, I believed a man could fly. It shattered
Love
my
that.
brain.
I just kind of get teary. That's so lovely.
Yeah, you have to. That was the best. And all the way through, I never wanted to work in the movie industry when I moved to the US and when I moved to Los Angeles. And I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to taint something that gave me so much joy. It would be a profession, it would be a job. And that was counter to how I felt about film. And it opened up a different path for me. And that was the path that you referenced with Levi's. It was actually a couple of jobs before that. I started working at Puma.
Cool.
And for whatever reason, I knew about music. I knew about sneakers. I knew about Puma coming from England. And I saw a means of connecting the dots. So I started in the field of music for Puma in entertainment marketing, which on a very rudimentary level was, hey, get our sneakers onto musicians, whoever that may be.
So how would you do that?
I knew even before that. So I spent time. I loved music as well. And I ended up knowing a lot of bands because they would come to England. They would tour England. I was the only person that could drive in my little crew of friends. So we would load up my mom's Mini and we would drive to any of these cities and we would go see bands 4 or 5 times. and we got to know them. And then I was a roadie, then a tour manager. And
No way.
So I did that whole
My dad
thing.
was a roadie and a tour manager for Dylan and the band back in the day.
That's way cooler than anything
but
did.
it's so cool.
Yeah,
I love that.
Amazing.
But you were a real can-do guy.
Totally. But I also saw my future. I saw a guy that was like in his mid-30s. He looked like he was in his 60s. He looked like a worn leather saddle, and he had a Batman utility belt that had every form of tool that you could imagine to rebuild whatever guitars that he was working on, teching for some band. And I was like, I don't want to be that, because if you do that, then, and everyone that I spoke to in that field who was older, of course, I'm in my 20s at this point, early 20s, they're all like, this is what I do. This is all I do. I don't have the skills to do anything else because I've been on the road for 20 plus years. And I was like, I don't want, as fun as this is, I don't want that to be my life. But I knew music, I knew bands. And so I got this gig at Puma that was getting cool bands to wear our shoes. But I was in the position where I could literally pick up the phone and call Dave Grohl and say, hey, you want to come through and get some free sneakers? And he was like, oh, it sounds awesome. And then it just spiraled out from there.
Oh my God, I love that.
The thing that I saw was that was only a superficial level of marketing within this company. And I was like, why aren't we pursuing music in a more holistic space, working with artists on a deeper level, working with the labels on a meaningful level, and then bridging the gap between the art and the creativity of music and what Puma at that point could stand for, which was far more of a lifestyle brand. That then segued into a role at Nike, which was a huge, huge shift, because Nike was just a completely different animal, just a whole other level. And that was a place where I feel I really got an education in marketing and building brands. I'd always loved brands, I'd observed brands, but being in an entity like that, and at that point, this was 2004 through 2010-ish, massive growth years for Nike, going from a regional company based on territories to a global company, singular vision. And the category that I was working in, when everyone thinks about Nike, they think about the performance of basketball, tennis, golf, whatever it is. I was working on essentially, again, kind of within the lifestyle space, which doesn't sound that big, but it's everything that you wear off the court. So it's actually the real driver. At that point, Nike was a $12 billion brand, and this category was $2.5 billion. And Nike taught me a lot of things to do and to not do. I got into a ton of trouble there, but they weren't looking at what we were doing because they were so focused on the athletes and the performance. And we were over here working in the film space and working with graffiti artists and creating sneaker culture and collector culture. And it was wild. And then so from there, I went to Levi's, and Levi's was a similar thing, shifting into global there, but building brands under the umbrella of this incredibly established brand that had been around at that point for 128 years. And so the opportunity there was to blow the dust off this thing and, again, make it relevant and bring it some level of contemporary currency.
You know, I went to, Europe last summer with my daughter, and Levi, I mean, there's like Levi stores everywhere, and just people standing around the corner to get their 501s and their jeans. And it's just extraordinary to me, like the everlasting sort of impact of that brand. And
yeah, it's gone through these ups and downs. There was big shifts that took place in the late 80s, early 90s. And our job, myself and all the people that came in, was restoring health back to that brand and digging it out of both the cultural and financial wasteland it had kind of sunk itself into, because it just missed the market, and the denim market exploded, and they weren't equipped to respond to that because they were the big ship. And this is relevant for the film dialogue that we'll talk about, that concept of being the big ship and the difference that neon represents and the nimbleness. And a lot of that came from, again, my learnings at Nike and Levi's, and to some extent Puma, of being able to stick out and be different.
Okay, so then how did you pivot to film, and what plan did you pivot to neon? Like, I'm so fascinated how you made that leap.
I was obsessed with Alamo Drafthouse in Austin because what was happening down there was unlike anything else that was happening, certainly in the US and really in the world. The Alamo Drafthouse and Tim League as a startup was building a really passionate, really energized, really excited film community that was outside of the film establishment. It was totally renegade. There were a bunch of pirates. That thing was punk rock. Ain't It Cool News was this website that was dictating the fate of films even before they'd come out. And Hollywood was like, what is happening here? Like, the industry was like, this is terrifying. And then you had the Tarantinos of the world that were like, yeah, these are my guys. This is cool. And so I got to know Tim as a fan of the events that they were doing, their whole just kind of position around film. I met Tim at some of their Rolling Roadshow screenings, which was famous film in famous location, which then was groundbreaking.
So like, what would be an example of that, Christian?
The first time that I went to a Rolling Roadshow, they screened Repo Man in Los Angeles, where it was filmed, and it was now a wrecking yard, which was just like crazy to me.
Cool.
And when I was in Portland with Nike, there's this tiny little town, and it's frozen in time. It's stuck in the 50s, 60s, called Brownsville, which is where they shot Stand By Me. And so the Rolling Roadshow, it was like a circus. It would come into town. They would take over this whole area, film events through the day, a pie eating competition with the International Federation of Competitive Eating. And so they would do that, and everyone's like sick, and it would culminate with this screening of Stand By Me that was under the stars. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. At Levi's, I hired the Alamo Drafthouse to build out this tour from coast to coast of Rolling Roadshow events, famous films and famous locations. And we had this product line that was based around the concept of workwear. And so I just wanted to, again, thinking about Levi's and breathing a bit of life into the thing, I was like, okay, well, how do we make this fun? How do I bring in a completely different audience? And so I said, well, who are the great American workers? So we built this tour based loosely around this premise, and it was really just so I could have fun, to be honest. It started in San Francisco. We screened Dirty Harry in the environment where the film was shot. It's like Washington Park, I think it is, where one of the sniper scenes takes place. So that was like really creepy. So it started there with Dirty Harry. Then we did There Will Be Blood in Bakersfield at the Oil Museum.
Wow.
We did the prison in Chicago where the Blues Brothers was shot. We did a Rocky Marathon on the steps in Philadelphia.
Cool.
In Detroit, we went to the wrecking yard where RoboCop finishes.
Come on.
Because we were like, yeah, RoboCop's a great American worker. Why not?
And were these selling out, Christian? Like, were they very, very...
They were packed. It was crazy. And because Levi's, basically it was a Levi's program, we underwrote everything so it was free. Okay. Everyone got these crazy Mondo posters. We did Jackie Brown under the flight path of LAX. So you're watching the film in your deck chair, and you're watching these planes come in, and every 6 minutes, there's an insane roar over your head that just blacks out all of the sound of the film. But it was great. And so we were like, yeah, Jackie Brown, air stewardess, we should recognize these workers. You know, what we were trying to do, which is what you're always trying to do in that world, is you're just trying to put deposits into the bank. Not the financial bank, but the...
G'day, America. It's Tony and Ryan from the Tony and Ryan podcast from Down Under.
Today we want to talk to you about Boost Mobile, the newest 5G network in the country.
These guys are no longer the prepaid wireless company you might remember. They've invested billions into building their own 5G towers across America, transforming the carrier into America's fourth major network alongside the other big dogs who
Yep, they're challenging the competitors by working harder and smarter, like this amazing new network they've literally built.
The Boost Mobile network, together with their roaming partners, covers 99% of the US population, but 5G speed's not available in all areas.
Yep, they have blazing fast internet and plans for all the latest devices. Visit your nearest Boost Mobile store or find them online at boostmobile.com.
Did you know that selling your home is one of the top 5 most stressful things you do in your lifetime? Hi, I'm Sarah Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Empower Home Team with Keller Williams. Debbie and I are here to help remove the stress of selling your home by guaranteeing in writing that if your home doesn't sell, we will buy it. That's our guarantee. Many agents promise to sell your home, but can they guarantee it in writing? We can. Call us to sell your home today, guaranteed. 703-637-SOLD or go to debbiehasthebuyers.com.
The bank of Levi's, the bank of Nike, the brand bank, where you just put incrementally, oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, that's different. That's interesting. I like what they're doing. And then ultimately you put enough deposits into that thing, you come out on the other end and you're like, yeah, actually, I like Levi's. Maybe I'll buy some.
My immediate question is then, is Neon your next gig?
Alamo Drafthouse. Tim calls me out of the blue and he's like, would you ever consider coming to work at Alamo Drafthouse? We have these brands, and then obviously we have the Alamo Drafthouse as a whole. Would you ever want to come aboard? And I was like, that's really interesting. Timing's not right. But it just planted this seed. And the thing, again, and I said to Tim, I was like, I never wanted to work in the film industry, but you think about film in the same way that I do, and it's from a place of pure passion. And that's really compelling to me. And you're part of the film world, but you're not the film industry, because the thought of working in a cubicle and going from a rom-com, slaving away on a rom-com into an animated feature, into a studio tentpole, films that I know how to market toothpaste, but it would kill me inside. And that was kind of how I felt about the studio system and the big film industry. It's all about finding your lane and finding your path and finding your people. And so that felt right around that time. And so I ended up going to Alamo Drafthouse. And the step then to Neon was originally formed by Tom Quinn, who had a company called Radius, and he was at Magnolia before that, and really helped shape independent cinema, a lot of independent cinema in New York and for the US, and Tim League from Alamo Drafthouse. And so the inception of Neon was actually those two as co-founders. And what happened over time was Tim really stayed focused on the theatrical side of the business with Alamo, and Tom obviously ramped up Neon. But for the first 9 months of Neon's existence, I was working for both companies, because Neon, at that very beginning phase, it didn't have a marketing team. And we were doing it was a total startup. And so Neon was using my team at Alamo Drafthouse, the marketing team there, to market the Neon movies. Because it was like, hey, you can place the media. Christian, can you do the creative? Like, can you guys do this part of the business of releasing films?
Can I just, Christian, stop you for 1 second? Because I have a very, very distinct memory. So I produced a movie called Patty Cakes at Sundance.
Oh my God. Okay.
And
we love
3
that.
a.m. in the morning, it was that jammy jam where you get all the pitches, and you guys were brand new, and you came in and blew our minds. There was like, I'm sure was your brainchild, but you were like, we're going to do a Vine. Like in an hour, you came up with all these ideas. Or I don't know if it was you, but I have to assume.
Yeah.
You were going to do vinyl, like record of the music. You were going to do a shoe. You were going to, it was so,
yeah.
And it was just like, you guys were so new. We were like, is this real? Like, we just couldn't believe that there was all this like invention, and it was so cool.
We loved that film. Yeah, we love that film. And it's funny, it there was a fork in the road for us, because that was out of Sundance. But the real fork in the road, not for us, for me, it was I, Tonya at TIFF.
Yes.
And it was a similar situation. We saw I, Tonya Friday. Saturday, I'm in a screening. I get out of it. I get a call from Tom. He's like, we're meeting the I, Tonya team in 45 minutes. Get to the hotel. We need to build a pitch.
Oh my God.
I ran from one side to the other of town and flipped open my laptop. 30 minutes later, we had a pitch. 15 minutes later, Tom passes the baton to me and says, Christian's going to walk you through what we would love to do for your film. And I'm sat across from Margot Robbie and the entire I, Tonya team. And I took a gulp of water and then just jumped into this presentation that literally we just built. But it was the exact same situation as Patty Cakes. It was like, okay, what do we want to do for this film? And it was similar situation because we were brand new. People didn't know us. And if you're a filmmaking team that's been working on a team, or a filmmaker this film's been inside you for X amount of years, you're putting a lot of faith and trust into whoever the distributor is, or the studio, or whatever it is across the table from you to look after your film. And we take that really, really seriously. And for me, it personally comes from being with bands, being in the back of a van, touring with them, and seeing how the label that they were on just kind of put them out there. They didn't really care. They were just like, you guys just figure it out. We're not going to give you the support that you need. And I was like, well, it's kind of a shitty way to treat artists. Right. And it really struck a nerve. The way that I feel about it and the rest of the team is we're in service of the filmmakers.
Yeah.
They're no different from the musician that's like out in the field in a van driving through the night. They've put in the hours. Right. And a lot of the filmmakers that we work with, I'm sure that Jasper was no
Jeremy.
Jeremy
Jasper.
Was no different on Patty Cakes. Like he probably had that film in him for
forever.
Years,
yeah.
Years and
that
years.
was like his childhood. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of want to take, now that I know how you got there and like the philosophy that you have, which I really love. And I feel like in seeing the last few campaigns and I would say your brand, you guys are Neon is becoming a brand in and of itself, right? Which I think is attributed to the like quality of film that you guys take on and the way in which you release it and the type of filmmaker you work with. So I just want to say like, amazing. I know you probably have something to do with that. But diving into, let's start with like Longlegs. That must have like blown away expectations. It's the most successful film that Neon's ever had, I presume, right?
Yeah, it is. It beat all expectations, estimations. So we released that film in totality. We opened that film, I think it was July 11th. I think that's right. Yeah, it was around then. We released that film. We opened that film. Our spend was $10 million. It was just under, it was a 9 at the front. It was like 9.95, something like that. And when we do our budgets, that's everything. So that accounts for whatever the home entertainment budget was going to be. That accounted for all the entirety of the theatrical budget, the publicity budget, the creative budget, and the media budget.
Wow.
And it was our original budget was 6. And in April of that year, late March, early April, we just put the teaser out. And we'd released a series of materials prior to that. But I could see that there was this groundswell. And when the teaser came out, I went to Tom and Ryan, our head of finance, and I was like, we need more money. Because there's like, you can read in the tea leaves, this thing's going to pop. And they were like, well, okay, what do you think we can open to? And I was like, I think we can open to 10. That's like a really good goal. If everything goes our way, we can probably pick up another couple. And that was a really respectable opening for an indie type style of film at that time. Talk to Me opened to 10, Hereditary was around there. And so it was like, okay, these are accessible goals. Like I can see that. And so they said, we got a 10, can you open to 10? And then when you open at 10, the goal then is if you can do a 3x, that's great. But if you can 10 to 25, that would have been awesome.
You guys would have been
awesome
thrilled.
for us. So happy. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can get us to 10. If we do 10, as long as that 3, 5, 4 million, whatever it is, as long as we can isolate that and keep that for media, because people want this film, and as long as we can get it in front of them, and I know that we can build the materials that will get people excited and build on the excitement.
So meaning you want to reserve 3.5 to 4 million to creating the media and media buys?
Incremental for exclusively the media buy, the advertising.
And what kind of buys is like the most, like what are you looking for? What do you find the most effective?
It's funny, there were a lot of studio marketing people that reached out after Longlegs opened and that success. They called and they were like, hey, like break it down. And one of them was like, so what was your, and it was reported at that time that we'd opened for less than 10. And he was like, okay, so did you spend all of that 10 on TV? I was like, no, we didn't do any TV. And he was like, yeah, no. But I know you say you didn't do any TV, but like, spots, national, local. And I was like, look, I don't know we didn't buy any television.
So no television ad spots were purchased.
There was no television. We did a little bit of connected TV, which is Hulu, a little bit of Amazon, digital TV. You can target better there.
Meaning you can target, can you target like what shows you want to be sort of connected to when you do that?
Exactly. Yeah. And the reason why that's important, which everything comes back to the audience. That's the first step on any journey for us from a marketing standpoint and for me and my team. It is defining who is the audience for this film. And then when we understand who that audience is, you understand the size. And then you understand how to reach them and how to access them. And the thing with Longlegs, and the very first conversation that we had on that film, which was when we were interested in buying the film, we'd seen a promo, they were shooting the film, the producers were on there, and Osgood Perkins was on there. One of the producers said, how would you market this film? And I said, well, the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to respect this audience. Because at that point in particular, genre audiences, I felt, were just kind of taken for granted.
Brilliant.
If you're in and of your audience, whether you're doing it with a genre audience at Longlegs or you're doing it with a bunch of crazy, obsessed, chicken jockey Minecraft lovers, like then you're going to win, Everyone was off on the tracking for Minecraft because, it's going to do 60, 70, 80 million. It's like, no, you don't understand the audience. You don't understand how obsessive this group of people are about this thing that is generational and changed their lives. And there's an entire world of people that live for this, and they've been waiting for this moment. This was their Super Bowl. And so for Longlegs, it was, how do we create a horror fan's Super Bowl?
So how did you do that though? Like what were the like adjustments that you did that maybe Blumhouse wouldn't have done, or like how did you kind of like hone that thing?
We drove this really, really hard. I drove this really, really hard. If the expected step in a campaign is to now take a step forward, then we would take a step left.
Ooh.
And we kept the audience on their toes. Because it's like you release a teaser poster, then you release a teaser trailer, then you do the key art, then you do the trailer, and it was like, we're only doing that because everyone else is doing that.
Right.
With Longlegs and with Osgood's permission and Nicolas Cage's permission, we were given the opportunity it wasn't to do whatever we wanted, but to circumvent the norm. And because everything that was expected, and this is how I feel about, not just within the film space, but in a lot of areas, the middle, which is where everything kind of lives, is boring. But it's on the edges and the outside, like that's where things are happening. That's where things are changing. And that's where things are exciting. And every step along that campaign, it was really fun. Like we were going through we were going through this art round, and we were talking about what a teaser poster for the film could be. And I was in with Tom, the CEO founder, and we were looking at this stuff, and I was like, I really like this, and Tom was like, I really like that one. And I asked the question. Credit to Tom. I asked the question. I was like, so which one is it? And he was like, why does it have to be one? And I was like, yeah, of course. I don't know. We like all these. Why don't we release all of these? And he was like, yeah, we love them. Let's build the world. And it was like, okay, let's do that. Rather than the one, let's pick the ones, plural. And the narrative that we had set up around this film for the audience, and this came from that first conversation with the producers, how are you going to market this film? I said, respect. And then this is a film about an FBI agent who's trying to hunt down and piece together the clues to find a serial killer. I was like, what about if we do that for the audience? We place a series of breadcrumbs out there, and they have to connect the dots to solve whatever this puzzle is. So we put the audience in the same position as Micah Monroe's character of Agent Lee Harker.
So you were hiding the Nick Cage character in all the marketing, essentially.
That came, yeah. So that was kind of the next step. But when we released these 4 teaser posters, we didn't just say, there you are. It was like, okay, let's put one in this corner of the internet, and then let's put one in this corner of the internet, and one over here and one over here.
How do you do that? Like, how does that get planted? Like, one goes on Fandango
Letterboxd.
and...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Letterboxd. The Letterboxd, you get this one. And then whoever it was, I don't remember. Like, Bloody Disgusting,
so cool.
You get this one. Discussing Film, you get this one. But again, that was audiences. It was like, okay, cool cinephile folks over here, you get your Letterboxd. Your genre people, you get your Bloody Disgusting corner. Kind of mainstream pop, whatever it is, EW, you go over here. And Discussing Film, just ravenous, like broad film space, you get that. And by the end of that hour, people were like, wait, where is this coming from? It was like, online, we're under attack. Oh, it's all this Longlegs. This shit's crazy. So there was a lot of that. The Cage part of it, they presented us a film. They asked us for notes. I don't do notes because it's not my. You're a filmmaker, right? Who am I to tell Osgood Perkins what to do with his film? So I really don't like doing the notes thing. And my job as a marketer is to take what an artist has created and then make it accessible and exciting for people, and to get them to go and see the film. It's not to tell a director who has created this universe what to do with his film. However, I had one note on Longlegs, and it's at the beginning of the film. Nicolas Cage, he's cropped out of, it's at the very beginning, it's the opening scene, he's cropped out of frame. You can just see him from the nose down. And in the original cut, he jumps down into frame, and you see his face, and he's talking to the young girl. And I said, keep him out of frame, don't bring him down. And they were like, but it's so powerful. Like, you see him, and it's so jarring, and it's so shocking. And I said, my favorite film is Jaws. I don't see that shark for the first hour, but by the time I do, like, I am in such a frenzy, because the theater of the mind is infinitely more powerful than anything you can show me on the screen. So if you can take the audience on this journey without revealing this, that payoff that comes when he's finally revealed, oh my God, like, that's a shocker. And Perkins, Osgood, it was like, yeah, we'll try it. And that was it. And then it made it into the film. And that was the inspiration. Then I was like, okay, if we can hold that in the film, then let's translate that to the marketing. Let's keep this guy hidden in a box. And we'd had a couple of pieces out there already. But then I had to have this call with Cage to present the rest of the campaign to him. I'm presenting the stuff, and he was very complimentary. And then the moment came, and he said, so it's over Zoom. He's like, so am I to believe that you're going to hold my magnificent grotesqueness back until a little bit later in this campaign? I vividly remember because it just felt like the world just went silent. And then there was a spotlight on me. And I just said, well, actually, Nick, we don't want to show you at all.
Oh my God.
And he's just looking at me and I'm like, because you're the ultimate boogeyman, right? And the boogeyman lives in the shadows. And I said, you're going to be much scarier in the shadows than if we show you. And he rocked back in his chair and he put his finger to his mouth and he kind of looked off. And then he shook his finger, almost like, like that Nick Cave movement when he shakes his finger. And he went, yeah, I like that. And then at that point we were done. And I was like, oh my God, okay.
You stuck the landing, man.
We can do this. When Nick Cage says, I like that, it's like you've been blessed. The holy water is spread all over you. And that was it.
For you to come up with that, like just having experienced it briefly with patty cakes, like you're given a thing that you all love and you're able to come up with ideas, it's probably a talent, right? That's not everyone's gift. It is your gift. Do you find yourself weighing in on the decisions that Neon makes more and more in terms of the acquisitions? Like, are you right there with Tom and Jeff being like, this is one that I really think I could like get creative behind?
Yeah, we have a great acquisitions team, like amazing. And, I love that you referenced Jeff. Jeff has got this unbelievable suit. Everyone's got superpowers and then it's about finding them and then channeling them. But, Jeff can go like Jeff's thing. And I'll never forget Anatomy of a Fall plays Cannes. Jeff walks out of it. He's there at the first screening. He tracked Justin Trier, loved her work, and he walks out of there and he's like, yeah, this can go all the way. I'm like, what? He's got like this spidey sense. In that situation, I'm like, yeah, I trust you. I believe you. Like he's got that because he's lived in and of that world for forever. When the film Together screens, it was a film that we'd been tracking, and I didn't go. I canceled Sundance last minute because there was too much on with the Anora awards campaign and the Monkey. They were hitting at the same time. I was like, I just can't do this. I go to bed Sunday night. I get a call at midnight. It's Jason Wald on the acquisitions team. Hey, Together's great. You're going to get a link. You got to watch it tonight. We're going to present tomorrow night. Okay, fine. I wake up, make sure everyone else is asleep. I watch the film from 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. I'm watching it and I'm like, I can see it. I'm making notes as I'm going through. I'm taking photos on my phone of the screen. That's really
cool.
But cool. As I'm watching it, like I'm unpacking it, but I'm also seeing how it plays in theaters and I'm seeing what we can do with it. At the film finishes, it's 2:30, 3 a.m. I unplugged the laptop because I was streaming it. It was a screener that was playing on that I put up on the screen, and then I just started building a deck of like all these ideas. And so 3 a.m. I'm creating concept art for this thing, knowing that we're going to be in a room, same as with the patty cakes experience that you had. But at that point, I could see it. I could see how the whole thing like could play out. And so then we go to the next, and then so the next day we kind of talk through what this thing could look like, and working with Alyssa and the exhibition team. All right, let's identify the 3 or 4 dates that we think could be really good for this, and then spent that day building this thing out. And then that night, 11 o'clock, whatever, presented, and that was like an hour presentation or so of like getting to know and then what we would want to.
It feels like you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm going to like make an assumption here that like may not be true, but you guys seem to be doing, you have this like auteur path, right? Which is like Bong and Sean Baker, and like, which you guys do extraordinarily well. And you've won several Oscars, and, I want to talk a little bit about that. And then you've had this like Longlegs, which feels slightly newer, this like elevated horror sort of path, which feels financially really successful. And it's funny, and I mean this as a compliment. It almost feels reminiscent of the like Miramax Dimension days. You know what I mean? Where they were very good at two things, you know, and that's all under the umbrella of Neon. But I just wonder are those two lanes that you guys think about, or is it just you're pursuing material that you guys are passionate about, and sometimes it's here and sometimes it's here?
It's absolutely the latter.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're focused on the filmmaker, and if you're focused on films that we believe people will love because it's from filmmakers that we love, then you have that elasticity and you can have some range. We didn't speak to the Academy voters about The Monkey. And in the same way, we didn't speak to Stephen King and James Wan fans about Mikey Madison. There's room for all of us. And so that audience separation and definition is absolutely critical. That's the fundamental at the beginning of every film that we release. But the whiplash during those few months leading into that and opening that film and closing that campaign, it was furious.
I can't even, my friend Dave Kaplan is my buddy who introduced us. Dave is the best, but said that the Monkey premiere, you had Hearst's pick up the talent. And I was just like, I love that. I mean, it's just so out of the box and cool.
Well, we went a little step further. We actually, the premiere was like, okay, everyone does it in a movie theater. There's this incredible deconsecrated church in Los Angeles just on the border of Koreatown, which is incredible. It's beautiful. It's ornate. It's this unbelievable church. And we were like, and it works with the themes of the film. So we had made, it was so crazy. This place was so big that a 30-foot screen looked tiny in there. So I was like, okay, forget it. We need a 40+ foot screen in here. And they're like, well, those don't exist. And I was like, well, then let's go make it, because we have to do this right. It's the premiere of this film. So we built a 40-foot screen. We turned this church into a movie theater for one night. And yes, the talent pulled up in hearses. And we had for Osgood's character in the film, Uncle Chip, there was a casket there, and there was that whole thing. And yeah, it was ridiculous. It was completely over the top. We treated everything like it was a funeral service.
Ugh,
and
so
everyone
inventive.
got these brochures, pamphlets, that kind of thing that was, in loving memory of, and it was all the people that died in the film. But if you can't have fun with a film like The Monkey, like what are we doing? And again, from an audience standpoint, people want that. They love it. And I feel it's our obligation and duty to give people a good time. We're marketing movies, for crying out loud. This should be fun, people.
Okay, so I'm going to pivot for a few minutes to Anora, and I don't want to take up forever. Thank you so much. This is it's so exciting and
whatever time you need.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. So Anora is a very different endeavor. There are no major stars. It's a film that premieres at Cannes. You have the goods in the actual film, but how do you think about something like that, which has less of a obvious built-in audience, or maybe it does, and I just don't know. But talk to me about your headspace with that.
I've read this script. That was one that came to us. The sales agent said, "Hey, we're going to give you the script. You got 24 hours. You'll get it at this point, and let us know whether you're in or you're out." The script came in at 3:00. It was the fastest page turner I'd ever had. When it was done, I immediately called Tom and I said, "We don't have a choice. We have to do this. We have to do this." I knew Sean from just being in LA and us going to movies and seeing stuff out there.
Cool.
Obviously very familiar with his work. Neon had tried to acquire Florida Project out of Cannes. A24 got it. Red Rocket came along. I was like, we got to do this. It went to A24. we got the opportunity to read this. I was like, we are not letting this go. This is a barn burner. He hadn't shot it yet. But what Sean did when he was shooting and when he edited it, and then the performance that Mikey gave, and everybody else, the rest of the cast, it took it to a whole other level. So 3 months before Cannes, and I said, you're going to win the Palme d'Or this year. And he was like, no, you're crazy. You don't even say that. And I was like, it's going to happen. Like, it's your time. Like, you can just sense it. You can feel it. This film is going to do that. He dismissed it. Obviously, it won. We were jumping, bouncing off the walls. And then the real work began, because it was like, okay, this isn't just a Sean Baker film. This is a Palme d'Or winning Sean Baker film.
Right.
And so automatically it's like, oh, things got a bit more serious. No different. We knew that Parasite was special. It wins the Palme. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Shit got real. Seeing what this film was like, it was like, okay, it's going to be difficult to bring in an older audience off the bat because of the subject matter.
Yes.
Because, as you say, the absence of big name talent. Sean's a totally unconventional filmmaker living in a very singular space. The idea and the plan, which obviously we executed against, was let's go young. Let's get a really energized cinephile young art house audience into this. Through COVID and through Letterboxd and the ascension of the A24 and the Neons of the world, there is a young cinephile audience that are just so, like, they make me wake up every day excited to go to work, because they're bringing a new vitality to film and to cinema, and the opportunities that collectively we can achieve. The materials, the trailer will be a bit more risque. We can put some expletives in there. It can be a little, I don't want to use, it can be a little rawer. Yeah, give it some teeth, give it some edge. Let's get that audience in. Let's build in some success at a local level, because we were platforming the film out. And let's play to that audience, and let's play to the people that love Sean Baker movies. The twist in this is very deliberate on the poster. Not a film by Sean Baker or written and directed by Sean Baker. It was a love story from Sean Baker. Automatically, you know, okay, this is going to be a little bit different. Okay, all right. It takes the edge off. Is this a romance? Is this a weepy? This is a roller coaster. This is a Sean Baker film. And a love story also opens it up. It softens it for the hardcore, but it also opens it up for the people that are like, I might not want to do that. So the film opened out as a platform release, extended into a wide. And the objective was, let's get the fans of this type of cinema and Sean's fans, let's get them in. And I knew, I was like, this is going to be the highest grossing opening weekend of the year. Like, it just is. Like, strategically, we place at these theaters, we speak to this audience, and this film has got the goods. And the way that the value of a Palme d'Or has changed over the last few years is really significant. The Palme d'Or has always been this prestigious seal of approval. But over the last few years, and we've been fortunate enough to win 5 of them consecutively, which still just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. It doesn't make any sense. But that, along with the ascension and the rise of a younger cinephile audience, it really means something that's really tangible, and there's a real level of excitement around that. And so we knew that we were going to open big, and we knew that we were, like, through working with this audience, we were going to build a really strong foundational base for this film that we could then bring, with a success there, we could then bring a slightly older art house audience in, and then we start to open the thing up. So the first trailer, pretty pointed, pretty racy, pretty risque, and then the second one a little bit softer. The narrative shifts a little bit, a little bit more of the pretty woman. The cue that we used, the composition was different between the two, so it's a little bit softer, a little bit more inviting. The quotes become a little bit softer. And then that was targeting a slightly older audience that didn't want the rock'em sock'em of the first one. And then we had to then shift again with a completely different set of narratives to get Academy voters on board. And so the first step was
interesting.
Getting people in the door. Because Sean, obviously we know him and we love him, but for the majority of Academy voters, they don't know this guy. They know Spielberg and Scorsese and Jim Cameron, but this guy, don't know. But the impenetrable piece in all of this, Palme d'Or, Mikey Madison performance of a lifetime. Who is this? What is this? Oh my God. And people couldn't stop talking about Mikey. And so the first phase, let's assert the film, the pedigree of the film, the prestige of the film. It was the best reviewed, audience rating is all through the roof. So we had that to lean on, but it was really come to see the Mikey show. Because this is a performance unlike anything else. She's a star in the making, and she's incredible. And then while you're there, oh my God, the rest of this cast who I don't know because they're these complete unknowns outside of this world, those guys are great as well.
Extraordinary, yeah.
Oh, this film, the tonal shifts in this film are incredible. Like this is something that goes back to like classic cinema. Like this is really, I haven't seen this in a really, really long time. After the LA premiere, and this is a really significant moment, early October, first week of October, after the LA premiere, there were a lot of filmmakers that came out, and I stood under the marquee of the Vista talking to them, producers and directors, and they all said, I don't know how he does it. The way that he shifted gears, the way that he shifted the tone. I've been making films for 20 years. I don't know how he did that. Like, it's like a magic trick and I don't understand it. And that to me was a really important signifier. I was like, okay, his peers, like he's confusing his peers. He's got them on their heels. So now we can really take this somewhere. So we had to let the Academy voters, they had to know this guy's been making films for 30 years. He wanted to make films so badly, he started shooting wedding videos because he wanted to understand and learn. He was like, okay, I'm going to learn my craft.
So great.
He's been making films for 30 years. That was the first part. He is the purest filmmaker that you can meet. He's turned down every big opportunity. He's turned down studio gigs, everything. He is a true auteur, he's true independent, and he is doing his thing. He is doing this for the love of cinema. That. He directed the film. He wrote the film. He cast the film. He edited the film, and he produced the film. There isn't another filmmaker anywhere that is doing this like that. You know, you got to look at like SS Rajamouli in India for doing that type of thing. And then the other piece was a lot of people had seen the film at Cannes. They saw the film in September and October when it came out, and or when it went on the Academy platform, which was around Thanksgiving. So now we're in January, February. The film is, for many people, a bit of a distant memory. And so we had to make people remember what they felt when they saw that movie. Because when you see that movie, you're laughing, you're falling in love, and then you're left, your heart is in a puddle on the floor with that gut punch ending. It's The Graduate. You don't know whether they're going to go and live happily ever after or whether she's going to be pulling tricks again. So we had to reignite that and make people remember how they felt when they saw that film.
I mean, you guys really pulled off just as sort of an average voter here, someone who like sort of is someone who monitors like the highs and lows, him winning 4 and Mikey pulling off, I would say, the greatest upset in years. And maybe it wasn't an upset to you, but
Mikey was.
Demi Moore had won every single thing. I mean, no one thought that wasn't going to happen.
Mikey, as great as everything was, in talking to Sean, Sammy and I, everyone, we were all so, and within the neon space, we were all so unbelievably happy for Mikey, because Mikey, Sean did it, everyone did it, but Mikey put this film on her back. She put those strange guys on her back. And if you like, you meet Mikey, she's as sweet and gentle as she's this little, she's a little pixie. But in that film, she's ferocious. And the tenacity that her character has and the drive that her character has, it was in her throughout this thing. She worked her ass off. She went everywhere. It was crazy. You felt it and you saw it with the cast and the producers. They were so happy for her because she had given so much and she'd been knocked back and knocked back and knocked back. And we didn't anticipate it. We didn't expect it. We were like, this is Demi's moment. And Demi has been incredible. And she was incredible in substance. Like incredible.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
But it felt to us for whatever
moment.
reason.
But the thing I loved about like Sean's maybe like third speech or whatever was just the reverence he has for proper theatrical cinema, which is something you guys are really trying to uphold, which I so love and believe in myself. But also the notion of like an original star turn, like him casting her. She'd been in Scream 6 or whatever the thing is that he saw that he decided she could deliver. I just so appreciate that, like opening our eyes up to the fact that you don't have to cast, one of 5 names, in order to like get a great performance or make a great film. I love that so much. And that is like what he does. It's just what he does.
It's funny. I love that you pick up on this. In talking to Sean, I'm like, you're like the Swiss Army knife, like you're doing everything. I have my perception, but what is it that you're best at? And he's like, it's casting. I'm like, Sean, like your writing's incredible. Like you're directing, you're making these movies under that film, $6 million on film in New York. Like you're a producer on this thing. Like what? And you're doing it all at the same time. And he's like, casting. My best skill is casting. I'm like,
wow.
I don't understand the world that you live in, but I trust you.
Maybe he'll win that award like next year when there's a cast.
He could have. if that category, he would have walked out with 5. But it was funny, the way that he edits is crazy. And Sean is the master of voice memos. He hates typing, he hates texting, but he loves voice memos. So I'd wake up and I'd get these voice memos from like the strangest hours. I was like, hey man, it's Sean. I just gotta tell you, the stuff that we got with Mikey, her performance, it's freaking unbelievable. And he doesn't swear, so he says freaking. It's freaking unbelievable. Anyway, man, I can't believe it. I just wanted to tell you that. Okay. And then he'll just hang up, but he was a kid in a candy store.
Great.
And that's the other thing. Like, we wanted to win for him.
Right.
And for me personally, and knowing Sean and seeing what he's gone through.
Yeah. And
tying all of this, we go through this process. It's horrible. It's ridiculous. I hate it. But we have fallen prey to it. But the line that closes out your campaign and the awards campaign, and everyone does it. The best one ever was Searchlight for 12 Years a Slave. It's time. It's like, bravo, you guys win. Mm-hmm. And so for this one, the thing I just kept coming back to, and I was like, Sean, like he's turned down all this stuff. He is as punk rock as it gets, and he's doing all of this because he has followed his heart.
Yes.
And that's what he's done all the way through. Oh. And then I was like, oh shit, that's it. And I hit Tom, and I just wrote, follow your heart. I just texted him.
I remember seeing that everywhere.
Yeah, and he was like, that's it. And I was like, it's what Sean's done. It's what Annie's character does in the film. It's what Igor's character does in the film. It's what we're asking voters to do.
Christian, what like an amazing end to that tale, like so perfectly sums up, I think, not only someone like Sean Baker, but like the passion that you bring to it, obviously, is like you're following your passions and your heart. And I can't thank you enough for like just like pulling back the curtain in such an accessible way, because it is about being creative and like daring and going outside the box and not just following what we're told to do, right? As filmmakers.
I mean, we have to. It's what the filmmakers are doing. And as I say, we have an obligation, we have a duty to those filmmakers and then to the audiences that we're trying to excite to come and see films. It's not a job. We're in this for the love of the game. And we're so fortunate. I'm so fortunate. And to be able to talk to you and to share this.
No, I love you, man. I want to work with you. I'm so inspired. I literally am going to like go call Jeff Deutschman to get a lunch. But thank you so much for doing this with us. And you are wonderful. I hope to meet you in person soon.
Brilliant. Yeah, be well. Bye.
Did you know that selling your home is one of the top 5 most stressful things you do in your lifetime? Hi, I'm Sarah Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds and Power Home Team with Keller Williams. Debbie and I are here to help remove the stress of selling your home by guaranteeing in writing that if your home doesn't sell, we will buy it. That's our guarantee. Many agents promise to sell your home, but can they guarantee it in writing? We can. Call us to sell your home today, guaranteed. 703-637-SOLD or go to debbiehasthebuyers.com.
Okay, so I am so obsessed with Christian Parkes, Vanessa. I feel like I could talk to that guy for hours.
He's such a genius. I mean, it was so interesting listening to his version of how marketing should be done in film. And I think that it's really exciting that we're talking to people who are innovators in this space.
Yes.
The same way.
Yes.
It opens your mind. It's like, whoa, why haven't we been thinking about things that way?
Well, it's so funny because I literally will never forget the moment that Neon, which was a brand new company at the time, it was their first Sundance when we were selling patty cakes, and we were all late night in the WME condo, and they walked in with 10 people, and Christian, who I now realize was Christian, walked in with this entire deck that included like an idea of putting the patty cakes music out on vinyl and selling it at Alamo draft houses and putting out sneakers, and like had all these like out of the box ideas. And we literally, our mouths were agape, and we just decided to go with Fox Searchlight because they were the more proven company. And there were a lot of bidders, but our hearts lay with Neon because they were so inventive with their marketing. And so it's so exciting to see that they've ultimately succeeded, you know, like that this innovation is working and they are bringing people into the theaters. And so I just loved hearing all about their growth.
It's not often that you hear a company come in and have this really bold and exciting idea and it actually work out, because I think we are constantly skeptical of people who think they're going to, you know,
innovate,
change the business.
Yeah, totally.
They're like, it's a reason it hasn't worked to try and innovate. There's like just things that simply work. So it's so exciting when someone kind of cracks the code and knows what they're doing. It's great.
100%. So it's just good. It's good to like talk to someone like that, because it, as a producer, it's like so essential that we, you know, that we have that brain too, that lens a little bit. Like what makes this different? What would make this an event? You know, why are we making this movie and how are we going to get people to see it? So I love that. Love that conversation so much. All right. That was another great one. So much fun.
Let's do more of them. Let's bring in some more brilliant minds who are changing the business.
Totally. All right. Well, you do the wrap up, babe.
All right. Follow us on Instagram at Hollywood Gold Pod. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. And go to our website, staygoldfeatures.com, and click the Hollywood Gold tab to get some of our merch. We sell t-shirts and sweatshirts, as you know, and they're really comfy, and we all wear them all the time.
And don't forget our YouTube page, which Andrew is constantly populating.
Yeah, we have a lot of good clips. We have full episodes. If you're better at watching YouTube than listening to a podcast on your phone, go check it out.
All right, guys. Love you so much. And don't forget to stay gold.
Stay gold.
Are you a homeowner looking to sell your home fast and want your cash now? How about getting cash for your home twice? Hi, I'm Sarah Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds and Power Home Team with Keller Williams. Our cash offer stands above the rest. With our cash offer, you get the majority of your funds based on your home's value right away. That's right, cash in the bank within days. We will then sell your home for top dollar and you get the rest. Yes, with our cash offer, you get paid not only once, but twice. Call us now at 703-637-SOLD or go to DebbieHasTheBuyers.com.